Get that dirty kid out of my conference room, now! Garrett Caldwell's voice sliced through the executive meeting like a whip. He pointed at the 11-year-old black boy kneeling by the wall, scrubbing marble with oversized rubber gloves. This is a $100 million crisis, not a daycare for the help's children. 50 security experts turned to stare. The boy's hands froze mid-wipe. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Caldwell." Clara Johnson stepped forward, voice shaking. "School closed today. I had nowhere to leave him. He's just helping me clean quietly." "I don't pay you to make excuses." Garrett's lip curled. "Look at him. He probably can't even read the words in that vault. These people don't belong in rooms where decisions worth millions are made." Behind him, the quantum vault pulsed red. $100 million locked inside. 24 hours until self-destruct. Nobody in that room of geniuses could open it. The boy glanced at the vault's display. His eyes caught the frequency readings, the distortion patterns. He knew exactly what was wrong. 3 days earlier, Richard Caldwell had died in his sleep. The billionaire founder of Caldwell Industries, 72 years old, built his empire from a single patent into a $5 billion technology conglomerate. His death should have been simple. Read the will, divide the assets, move forward. But Richard Caldwell had installed a quantum vault in his private study. Inside it, he'd placed master encryption keys to the company's entire patent portfolio. Cryptocurrency wallets worth $100 million. Legal documents controlling overseas subsidiaries. And he'd died before teaching anyone else how to open it. The vault used quantum biometric resonance. It read microscopic vibrations of a person's nervous system, heartbeat patterns, even electrical signatures of thoughts. Richard had designed it to open only for someone it recognized on every level: body, mind, and emotion. Garrett had assumed it would open for him. He was the son, the heir, the CEO. It didn't. Now they had 24 hours left before the vault's self-destruct protocol activated. An electromagnetic pulse would corrupt every drive, every key, every document inside, irreversibly. Clara Johnson had worked in the Caldwell mansion for 30 years. Started at 28, a single mother who needed steady work. Richard Caldwell had always treated her with respect. He remembered her birthday, asked about her son's schooling, gave Christmas bonuses that kept the lights on during hard months. Garrett was different. From the moment he'd taken over as CEO, he'd made it clear how he saw the staff. Tools, replaceable, beneath notice. This morning, Clara had received the emergency call. All staff to corporate headquarters immediately. The vault crisis. They needed the conference room ready for experts flying in worldwide. Her son's school had called an hour earlier. Burst pipe. Closed for repairs. She had no one to watch Elijah. Her sister worked double shifts. Her neighbor was out of town. So she'd brought him. Told him to stay quiet, stay in corners, help her work quickly. She should have known better. The conference room filled rapidly. Garrett had spared no expense. The Japanese specialist who'd designed security for 3 national banks. The German engineer who'd cracked the Vatican archives. The FBI's top cybercrimes unit. A quantum physicist from MIT. Each one examined the vault, ran diagnostics, proposed solutions. The Japanese specialist tried a laser resonance scan. The vault's warning light shifted from yellow to red. The countdown accelerated by 6 hours. The German engineer attempted an electronic bypass. The vault flashed. Unauthorized access detected. The countdown dropped another 3 hours. By the time the FBI team arrived, they were down to 31 hours. "We need to stop." The lead FBI agent, Patricia Morrison, held up her hand. "Every failed attempt makes it worse." "Then what do you suggest?" Garrett's voice was tight with rage. "We sit here and watch $5 billion disappear?" "I suggest we wait for Dr. Vincent Carter. He designed quantum biometric systems. If anyone can understand what your father built, it's him. He's 3 hours away. Then we wait. Garrett slammed his hand on the table. Unacceptable. He paced, eyes scanning the room. Then his gaze landed on Clara, quietly refilling water glasses, and on Elijah, using a small brush to clean between chair legs. You. Garrett's voice dropped to something dangerous. How long have you been in this room? Clara straightened. Since 7 this morning, sir. Preparing for the meetings. Your son, too? Yes, sir. I apologize again. Security footage. Garrett snapped his fingers at an assistant. Pull up last night's recordings. 5 minutes later, the main screen flickered to life. Black and white security footage, timestamp 2:13 a.m. Clara appeared on screen, pushing her cleaning cart down the executive hallway. She stopped at Richard Caldwell's study, unlocked the door, entered. The interior camera showed her dusting, vacuuming, straightening papers. At one point, she approached the vault, stood before it for several seconds, then continued cleaning. There. Garrett froze the image. What were you doing? Clara's voice was steady. Dusting the shelf beside it, sir, like I do every week. You were alone with the vault the night before we discovered it wouldn't open. I was cleaning, Mr. Caldwell, like I've done for 30 years. Cleaning? Garrett made it an accusation. He turned to the room. Let me tell you something about my father. He had a weakness. He trusted people who hadn't earned it. He gestured toward Clara and Elijah. This woman has been in our home for 3 decades. My father gave her access to everything, keys to every room. He probably even discussed the vault with her. He didn't, sir. Clara's hands clasped in front of her. Mr. Caldwell never discussed business with household staff. But you were in that room, near that vault, hours before we discovered the malfunction. Patricia Morrison stood. Mr. Caldwell, you're suggesting sabotage? I'm suggesting we examine all possibilities. She has no technical knowledge, but perhaps she touched something, pressed something, accidentally triggered a lockdown. I didn't touch the vault. Clara's voice remained calm, but Elijah had stopped cleaning. The boy stood frozen, watching his mother be accused. Maybe you don't remember. Garrett stepped closer. Or maybe. His eyes shifted to Elijah. Maybe someone else did. Children touch things they shouldn't. The room went quiet. My son has never been in that study, Clara said carefully. So you say. Garrett turned to the experts. This vault worked perfectly until 3 days ago. My father tested it weekly. The only variable is his death and the presence of unauthorized individuals near it. I'm not unauthorized. Clara's voice cracked slightly. I have keys. I have permission. I've had that for 30 years. Permission to clean. Not permission to touch technology you can't possibly understand. The MIT physicist cleared his throat. With respect, the vault's malfunction is likely related to the biometric system failing to adapt after your father's death. It's a design flaw, not sabotage. Then why did it work fine the day before he died? No one answered. Garrett pulled out his phone. I'm calling security. I want Clara Johnson and her son detained until we resolve this. You can't detain us. Clara's voice strengthened. We've done nothing wrong. You were in the room. That makes you suspect. Suspects of what? Patricia Morrison's voice was sharp. Cleaning? This is absurd. This is my company, my building, my decision. Elijah stepped forward. We didn't touch anything. Every eye turned to the 11-year-old. Garrett's lip curled. The child speaks. Tell me, boy, do you even know what that machine does? Elijah's jaw tightened. His mother reached for his arm, but he stood his ground. I know it's a quantum vault. Model X7. Uses bioresonance technology to read neural patterns and cardiac rhythms. The room went dead silent. Garrett blinked. What did you just say? I said it's... I heard what you said. Garrett looked at Clara. You coached him. Told him what to say. I didn't. Elijah's voice grew stronger. I read about it. Read about it. Garrett laughed without humor. Where exactly would a child like you read about classified quantum security systems? Elijah didn't answer. That's what I thought. Garrett turned to the experts. These people overstep. They think that because they work in our homes, they're entitled to our knowledge. He pointed at Elijah. This boy has probably been snooping through my father's things for years, and now we're supposed to believe it's coincidence that the vault fails right when... Mr. Caldwell. A new voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. An elderly Asian man stood at the entrance, leaning on a cane. His hair was silver, his face weathered, but his eyes were sharp. Dr. Carter. Patricia stood. Thank God. Chen walked slowly into the room, his gaze sweeping across the vault. Tell me what's happened. Garrett quickly outlined the situation. The vault's malfunction, the failed attempts. The countdown is at 28 hours. Chen listened without interruption. Then he approached the vault, studying its display. The biometric signature is fragmented, he said. Partially there, but incomplete. Like an echo. Can you fix it? Garrett demanded. I don't know. This is more sophisticated than anything I've seen. Your father improved on the original design significantly. Chen turned to face the room. Who was Richard's closest confidant? Who spent the most time with him in his final years? I did, Garrett said immediately. I'm his son. Chen's expression was skeptical. I mean emotionally. Who did he trust most? Garrett's face tightened. He was a private man. Everyone trusts someone. Carter's eyes swept the room, landing on Clara. You. You worked in his home? Clara nodded. 30 years. Did Richard ever discuss the vault with you? No, sir. But you cleaned his study? Yes, sir. Weekly. And you... Carter looked at Elijah. You're her son? Yes, sir. How old? 11. Chen studied the boy. Have you ever met Richard Caldwell? Before Elijah could answer, Garrett interrupted. This is a waste of time. They're staff. They have no... Please. Carter held up one hand. Let the boy answer. Elijah glanced at his mother. She gave the smallest nod. I met him, Elijah said quietly. Sometimes when Mom worked, I waited in the library. And did he speak to you? Sometimes. About what? Books, science, things I was reading. Chen's eyebrows rose. He discussed science with you? He asked what I was interested in. I told him about physics, quantum mechanics. He seemed surprised I knew about it. The room went very quiet. Garrett made a disgusted sound. We're listening to a child's fantasies while the vault... Be quiet. Carter's voice was soft but absolute. He moved closer to Elijah. What exactly did Richard discuss with you? Wave functions, probability states, superposition. He said most people think it's magic, but it's just math we don't understand yet. Chen's expression shifted to wonder. He said that? Yes, sir. He said he was designing something that used quantum principles, something that could read things normal machines couldn't. Did he show you what he was designing? Elijah shook his head, then paused. He gave me a notebook. Said it was notes. Told me to keep it safe. Every person in the room leaned forward. You have a notebook? Carter's voice was careful. Given to you by Richard Caldwell? Yes, sir. Where is it? Elijah reached into his jacket pocket. pulled out a small leather-bound journal, edges worn. He held it out. Chen took it with trembling hands, opened it. His eyes scanned the pages. His face went pale. This is the complete technical schematic for the quantum vault. Every detail, every modification Richard made. Garrett snatched the notebook, flipped through it, his face cycling through disbelief and rage. Why would my father give classified documents to a child? His voice was barely a whisper. Chen looked at Elijah with new respect. Perhaps because he saw potential others missed. Potential? Garrett's voice rose. He's 11. He's the son of our cleaning woman. He has no education, no training, no... I can open the vault. The words came from Elijah. Quiet, certain. The room erupted. Elijah Johnson's education began in a corner, not a classroom corner. The corner of Richard Caldwell's private study, where a 6-year-old boy sat cross-legged on carpet, waiting for his mother to finish cleaning. Clara had raised her son alone since birth. The father left before Elijah turned 1. No child support, no contact, just Clara, working 3 jobs to keep a studio apartment in Queens. When she landed the position at the Caldwell mansion, it felt like salvation. Steady pay, benefits, 1 job instead of 3. But it meant long hours, and sometimes bringing Elijah with her. Stay quiet, she'd tell him. Sit in corners. Don't touch anything. Read your books. Elijah always listened. Good behavior meant his mother kept her job. Her job meant they kept their apartment. Their apartment meant safety. So he sat, and he read. At 4, Elijah taught himself to read using grocery circulars and subway ads. By 5, chapter books. By 6, he'd exhausted the children's library and moved to adult nonfiction. Science fascinated him most. The way the universe followed rules, patterns, mathematics explaining everything from falling apples to distant galaxies. The Caldwell mansion had a library that made public libraries look like closets. 3 floors, thousands of volumes. First editions worth more than Clara earned in a year. Richard Caldwell told her once that Elijah was welcome to read anything. Just be careful. Put books back where he found them. So while Clara cleaned, Elijah explored. Stephen Hawking at 7, Einstein at 8. By 9, graduate-level physics textbooks, teaching himself equations most adults would never understand. He didn't tell anyone. What was the point? He was the cleaning woman's son. Nobody cared what he knew. Except Richard Caldwell noticed. It happened on a Saturday morning. Clara polished silver in the dining room. Elijah sat in the study reading Introduction to Quantum Field Theory. The door opened. Richard walked in, expecting an empty room. He stopped. Hello, Elijah. Elijah jumped up, nearly dropping the book. I'm sorry, sir. I was just... reading. Richard smiled. May I ask what you're reading? Elijah showed him the cover, face burning, waiting to be told it was too advanced. Richard's eyebrows rose. That's a graduate text. Are you understanding it? Some of it. Elijah's voice was barely audible. Math is hard, but the concepts make sense. Which concepts? Wave-particle duality, quantum superposition, how particles exist in multiple states until observed. Richard sat down slowly. You're 9 years old. Yes, sir. And you understand quantum superposition. I think so. It's like reality isn't fixed until we look at it. Everything is probability until observation forces it to choose. Richard was quiet. Then he leaned forward. What else are you interested in? That conversation lasted an hour, then another hour the next Saturday, and the Saturday after. Richard never told anyone, not his son, not the staff, not even Clara, though he suspected she knew. He began leaving books out for Elijah, real textbooks, engineering manuals, technical journals, articles about biometric security, quantum encryption, neural pattern recognition. Elijah devoured them all. "Why do you like learning this?" Richard asked once. Elijah thought carefully. "Because it makes sense. Numbers don't lie. Science doesn't care who you are or where you come from. It just is." "That's very wise." "Mom says I have to be wise. We can't afford for me to be foolish." Richard's expression grew sad. "Your mother is remarkable. She works hard." The hardest workers are often least appreciated. Richard pulled a leather notebook from his desk. "Elijah, the world will try to make you feel small. People will look at where you come from and decide what you're capable of." "I know, sir." "But capability isn't about credentials. It's about curiosity, willingness to learn, courage to try." He handed the notebook to Elijah. "I'm designing something revolutionary, a security system that doesn't just read fingerprints, it reads emotion, connection, trust." Elijah opened it. Pages of schematics, equations, theoretical frameworks. "This is incredible. It's also a secret. My son doesn't know. My engineers don't know. But I'm showing you because you'll understand it in ways they never could." "Why me?" "Because you learn for the love of learning. Not for money. Not for status. That's the rarest gift." Richard's voice grew serious. "I'm going to teach you everything about this system. But you must promise 2 things." "Anything, sir." "First, tell no one. This stays between us." "I promise." "Second, never let anyone convince you that you're less than you are. You have a brilliant mind. Don't let the world waste it." Elijah's eyes burned with emotion he didn't understand yet. Gratitude, hope, something bigger. "I won't, sir." "Good. Now let me show you what quantum biometric resonance really means." For the next year, every Saturday became a secret classroom. Richard taught. Elijah learned. Richard Caldwell was teaching the son his own son had never been. 3 weeks before Richard died, during their last session, the old man looked at Elijah with tired eyes. "If something happens to me, this vault will lock. It's designed to protect what's inside until the right person opens it." "You mean Mr. Garrett?" "No." Richard's voice was firm. "I mean someone who understands what I built. Someone who sees past the technology to the heart of it." He placed his hand on Elijah's shoulder. "If they need help, if the vault won't open, don't be afraid to try. You know this system better than anyone alive." "But I'm just—" "Don't finish that sentence. You're not just anything. You're Elijah Johnson. You're brilliant. You're capable. And you're exactly who I trust." Those were the last words Richard Caldwell ever said to him. Now, standing in a conference room full of experts who'd failed, Elijah heard those words again. "You're exactly who I trust. I can open the vault." The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Garrett laughed, sharp, bitter, disbelieving. "You!" He pointed at Elijah. "An 11-year-old child. You think you can open a vault that 15 of the world's top experts couldn't crack?" Elijah's voice was steady. "Yes, sir." "Based on what? A notebook? Some conversations with an old man who felt sorry for you?" "Based on understanding how it works." Garrett turned to the room, arms spread wide. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached peak absurdity. We're now taking security advice from the help's child." The German engineer shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Caldwell, perhaps we should—" "Should what? Let him touch $100 million vault? Let him trigger the final security lockdown?" Garrett's face reddened. "This isn't a science fair project. This is my company, my inheritance." Dr. Carter spoke quietly. "The boy has your father's technical manual. He clearly understands. He memorized some words." Garrett's voice rose. That doesn't mean he comprehends actual mechanisms. Would you let a child perform surgery because they read a medical textbook? Patricia Morrison stood. Mr. Caldwell, we're running out of options. 27 hours left. Every expert here has failed. Maybe nothing. Garrett cut her off. I know what this is. An elaborate con. The mother plants herself near the vault. The kid studies enough to sound smart. They wait for my father to die, then swoop in claiming they can help. Clara's voice came from the corner, shaking but clear. We're not thieves. No? Garrett spun toward her. Then explain why your son has classified technical documents. Explain why my father gave him access to information he didn't give his own son. I can't explain that, sir, but my boy is not a thief. Except knowledge that didn't belong to him. Elijah stepped forward. Mr. Caldwell gave it to me. He wanted me to learn. My father was 72 years old. His judgment was failing. He probably didn't even understand what he was giving you. Dr. Carter's voice was firm. Richard Caldwell's mind was sharp until the day he died. I spoke with him 3 weeks ago. He knew exactly what he was doing. Then he was being sentimental, feeling guilty about having staff who could barely afford to live. So he played teacher to make himself feel benevolent. The room was silent. Elijah's hands clenched at his sides. Garrett walked closer to the boy, looking down at him. Let me be very clear. If you touch that vault and cause any damage, I will ensure you and your mother are prosecuted. Destruction of corporate property, industrial sabotage. You'll both go to prison. Garrett, Patricia's voice was sharp. He's a child. He's a liability. Garrett didn't take his eyes off Elijah. And if this fails, someone needs to be held accountable. Clara moved forward, trying to reach her son. Elijah, don't. It's not worth it. We'll leave right now. But Elijah didn't move, his eyes locked on Garrett's. You don't think I can do it, Elijah said quietly. I know you can't. Because I'm 11? Because you're a child with no credentials, no training, and no business being in this room. Mr. Caldwell thought differently. My father was wrong. The words echoed in the silence. Dr. Carter stood slowly, leaning on his cane. Garrett, I've known you since you were younger than this boy. Your father called me 6 months ago. He told me he'd found someone with a natural gift for understanding quantum systems, someone who saw patterns trained engineers missed. Chen looked at Elijah. He was talking about you, wasn't he? Elijah nodded slightly. And he made you promise not to tell anyone. Yes, sir. Because he knew they wouldn't believe you. Another nod. Chen turned back to Garrett. Your father built that vault with a specific design philosophy. It doesn't just recognize biological signatures. It recognizes understanding, connection, trust. The vault only opens for someone who truly comprehends what he built. That's metaphysical nonsense. It's quantum biometric resonance. Carter's voice was sharp. The system reads neural patterns associated with comprehension and emotional connection. Your father spent a year teaching this boy how it works. Garrett's jaw worked. Even if that's true, we can't risk... Risk what? Patricia interrupted. We're out of options. In 27 hours, that vault destroys its contents anyway. We literally have nothing to lose. We have $100 million to lose. We've already lost it if we don't try something different. The Japanese specialist spoke. Mr. Caldwell, I've examined the security logs. Every attempt we've made has accelerated the countdown. But there's one access protocol we haven't triggered, for a non-standard user profile. Non-standard? Garrett frowned. Someone not in the system's primary authorization list. Someone who approaches with the correct harmonic signature rather than stored credentials. The specialist looked at Elijah. The boy might actually be our best chance. Garrett was silent. Then he pulled out his phone. Send legal up here. Now. 5 minutes later, a man in a dark suit entered carrying a tablet. I need a liability waiver. Comprehensive. If this child attempts to access the vault and fails, his family assumes full financial and legal responsibility for any damages. Clara gasped. We can't afford... That's the point. Garrett's eyes were cold. You want to play the hero? Fine. But if you fail, you pay. Every penny. The lawyer looked uncomfortable. Sir, he's a minor. He can't sign. His mother can. As his legal guardian, she accepts responsibility for his actions. The lawyer began typing. Clara's face went white. Mr. Caldwell, please, we don't have anything. If something goes wrong, then you'll spend the rest of your lives in debt, both of you. Elijah looked at his mother, saw the fear in her eyes. 30 years of cleaning, of bowing, of saying yes, sir, and I'm sorry, sir. He thought about Richard Caldwell's hand on his shoulder, the pride in the old man's eyes, the way he'd been treated not as the help's son, but as a person worth teaching. You're exactly who I trust. I'll sign it, Elijah said. Elijah, no! Clara reached for him. Mom. He took her hand. I can do this. Mr. Caldwell taught me. He trusted me. I'm not going to let everyone think he was wrong. Tears streamed down Clara's face. Baby, you don't have to prove anything. Yes, I do. His voice was quiet, but certain. Not to them. To me. The lawyer handed the tablet to Clara. Ms. Johnson, if you sign this, you're accepting full financial liability. This includes damages valued at approximately $100 million. Do you understand? Clara's hand shook as she took the tablet. Mom, don't sign it. Elijah's voice cracked. We'll just leave. No. Clara's voice was stronger now. She looked at her son with something fierce in her eyes. If Mr. Caldwell trusted you, then I trust you. She signed. The lawyer took the tablet back. It's done. Garrett smiled without warmth. Excellent. Now let's see what the genius child can do. Dr. Carter approached Elijah, speaking softly. The vault has 3 authentication layers: biological signature, harmonic frequency matching, and emotional resonance verification. Do you understand all 3? Yes, sir. And you know the sequence? Mr. Caldwell showed me. Then proceed carefully. The system is sensitive. Any aggressive attempt will trigger a final lockdown. Elijah nodded. He walked slowly toward the vault. 50 people watched in complete silence. The vault's display pulsed red. 26 hours, 43 minutes until destruction. Elijah stood before it, small and alone. He placed both hands flat against the cool steel surface and closed his eyes. Elijah's hands were cold against the steel. He could feel his heartbeat pulsing through his palms into the metal. The vault hummed, a low frequency that most people in the room couldn't hear, but Elijah heard it. He'd been trained to hear it. What's he doing? Someone whispered. Quiet. Dr. Carter's voice was firm. Elijah kept his eyes closed, listening. Not with his ears. With everything Richard Caldwell had taught him. The vault wasn't broken. It was confused. He could feel it in the harmonic distortion, the way the frequency wavered, searching for something it couldn't find, like a dog waiting for an owner who would never come home. After 2 minutes, Elijah opened his eyes and stepped back. Well? Garrett's voice was sharp with impatience. Did you have a nice meditation session? Elijah ignored him. He turned to Dr. Carter. The vault isn't malfunctioning. It's responding exactly as designed. Chen's eyebrows rose. Explain. The biometric system has 3 authentication layers. The first layer is biological. DNA signature, fingerprint, retinal scan. That part works fine. Elijah pointed to the vault's display panel. See this reading? 0.74 resonance match. That means the vault detects biological material from Mr. Caldwell. Probably skin cells, hair follicles, traces left from when he touched it last. The MIT physicist leaned forward. That's actually correct. The residual biological signature is still present. But it's not enough to open the vault, Elijah continued, because the second layer is harmonic frequency matching. The vault reads the electrical signature of the user's nervous system, heartbeat pattern, neural activity, the specific rhythm of how their body functions. He touched the screen, pulling up a waveform display. This is what Mr. Caldwell's signature looked like when he was alive. See the pattern? Consistent rhythm at 1.4 kilohertz, stable neural baseline. Garrett moved closer despite himself. And now? Now there's no active signature, just the echo of the old one. The vault knows Mr. Caldwell is gone. It's locked itself into protection mode, waiting for the correct living signature to match against. Patricia Morrison spoke up. But we tried that. I tried. Garrett tried. Why didn't it accept any of us? Because of the third layer. Elijah's voice was quiet. Emotional resonance verification. The room went still. That's not real technology, Garrett said flatly. Emotions aren't quantifiable. Yes, they are. Elijah turned to face him. Brain activity creates electrical patterns. Different emotions create different patterns. Fear looks different from joy. Anger looks different from trust. Mr. Caldwell designed the vault to read those patterns. Dr. Carter's voice was filled with wonder. He actually did it. He created a system that reads emotional authenticity. Not just authenticity. Elijah's voice grew stronger. Connection. The vault doesn't just check if you're telling the truth. It checks if you have a genuine emotional connection to Mr. Caldwell, if you understood him, if you cared about him beyond his money. The words landed like stones in water. Garrett's face went white, then red. That's absurd. I'm his son. I'm his... Of course I cared. The vault doesn't think so. Silence. Elijah held Garrett's gaze. That's why nobody here could open it. You're all qualified. You're all authorized. But none of you had the emotional connection Mr. Caldwell programmed it to recognize. And you think you do? Garrett's voice dripped with contempt. You think a few Saturday conversations make you more connected to my father than his own son? I don't think anything. The vault will decide. Patricia cleared her throat. Elijah, you said the vault is responding as designed, but it's still locked. How do we fix that? We don't fix it. We are satisfied. Meaning? Meaning we give it what it's looking for. A living person with the correct biological markers, harmonic frequency, and emotional resonance. The Japanese specialist frowned. But Mr. Caldwell is dead. His signature doesn't exist anymore. His exact signature doesn't. Elijah walked back to the vault. But the vault has secondary authorization protocols. Mr. Caldwell told me about them. He said if something happened to him, the vault would accept someone who met 3 specific criteria. He held up one finger. First, biological connection or proximity. Someone whose DNA or biological signature was logged into the system during the setup phase. Dr. Carter nodded slowly. Go on. Second finger. Second, demonstrable understanding of the vault's construction and purpose. Not just technical knowledge, deep comprehension of why he built it this way. Third finger. Third, genuine emotional connection verified through neural pattern matching. The vault has to sense that you actually cared about him. Garrett laughed harshly. So you're saying my father programmed his vault to only open for people who loved him? That's childish, sentimental nonsense. Maybe. Elijah's voice was steady. But it's his vault, his design, his choice. And you think you meet all 3 criteria? I know I meet the first one. Mr. Caldwell told me he registered 3 biological signatures in the secondary authorization system. Patricia leaned forward. 3? Who? Elijah looked at his mother. My mom is one. He registered her signature 5 years ago. She didn't know. He did it during one of her medical checkups that he paid for. Clara's hand went to her mouth. He never told me. He wanted you in the system. He trusted you. Who are the other two? Carter asked. I'm the second one. He registered my signature 2 years ago. I remember the day. He said he was testing the scanner. Asked me to put my hand on it for calibration. Elijah's voice grew softer. The third signature is his wife. She died 12 years ago. He never removed her from the system. The room was absolutely silent. Garrett's voice was barely a whisper. My mother? Yes. Mr. Caldwell said he kept her in the system because she was the only person who truly knew his heart. He said if anything went wrong, if he couldn't open the vault himself, it should go to someone who understood love over money. Tears ran down Garrett's face, but his expression was twisted with anger. He put the maid and her bastard son in his security system, but not his own child? I'm sorry, Elijah said quietly. And he meant it. Dr. Carter cleared his throat. Elijah, you've explained who has biological authorization, but the vault still won't open on biology alone. You said it needs harmonic frequency matching and emotional resonance. How do you provide those? That's the part Mr. Caldwell spent the most time teaching me. Elijah turned back to the vault. The harmonic frequency layer isn't about matching his frequency. It's about creating a bridge frequency. A what? Patricia asked. A bridge. A resonance pattern that connects the vault's memory of Mr. Caldwell's signature with a living person's signature. You create a harmonic that contains elements of both. The MIT physicist stood up. That's theoretically possible, but the precision required, you'd need to consciously control your heart rate, neural activity, even your breathing pattern to match specific frequencies. That's impossible without biofeedback equipment. Mr. Caldwell taught me how to do it without equipment. Elijah's voice was calm. He spent months training me. Meditation techniques, breathing exercises. He said it was like learning to play an instrument, but your body is the instrument. He looked around the room. I can slow my heart rate to match his resting rate. I can regulate my breathing to create the same neural patterns he had when he was calm and focused. I can generate the harmonic bridge the vault needs. That's impossible, Garrett said, but his voice lacked conviction. It's not impossible. It's just very difficult. And it requires something else. What? Carter asked. It requires the emotional resonance layer. That's the part I can't fake. The vault will scan my neural patterns while I'm creating the harmonic bridge. It'll read whether I'm doing this out of greed, fear, or genuine connection. Elijah's voice dropped. If I'm lying, if I'm just trying to steal what's inside, the vault will know. It'll read the fear and deception in my brain patterns, and it'll trigger the final lockdown immediately. Patricia understood. So you're risking everything. If the vault senses you're not genuine, it destroys the contents right away. We lose our remaining time. Yes. And if you're wrong about the bridge frequency, if you can't match it precisely enough, same result, immediate lockdown. So there's no practice run, no second attempt. You get one chance, and if anything goes wrong, we lose everything instantly instead of in 26 hours. Yes. Garrett's voice was cold. And why should we believe you even know what you're doing? You're 11 years old. This could all be fantasy. Stories you've made up. Elijah reached into his pocket and pulled out the leather notebook again. He opened it to a specific page and showed it to Dr. Carter. This is the bridge frequency formula. Mr. Caldwell wrote it out for me. He said if I ever needed to open the vault, this is how. Chen's hands trembled as he studied the page. Mathematical equations, waveform diagrams, notes in Richard Caldwell's handwriting. At the bottom of the page, one sentence. For Elijah, the son of my heart, if not my blood, trust yourself. Chen looked up, tears in his eyes. This is real, Richard really did plan for this. He showed the page to Patricia, then to the other experts. One by one, their expressions changed from skepticism to shock. The Japanese specialist spoke. These calculations are perfect. This would work, if someone could actually execute it. Can you? Patricia asked Elijah directly. Can you really do this? Elijah thought about Saturday afternoons in the study. Richard's patient voice guiding him through breathing exercises, the way the old man's hand felt on his shoulder, steady and sure. He thought about his mother, who'd signed away everything they had because she believed in him. He thought about Garrett's contempt, the way the room had looked at him like he was invisible until they needed him. I can do it, Elijah said. Mr. Caldwell believed I could. That's enough. Dr. Carter placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. Then we trust you. Show us what Richard taught you. Elijah approached the vault one more time. This time everyone understood what they were witnessing. Not just a child trying to open a safe, a student honoring his teacher's final lesson. The room cleared to a 30-foot perimeter. Dr. Carter's orders. Any electromagnetic interference from phones or computers could disrupt the harmonic frequency matching. Elijah stood alone before the vault. His mother watched from the edge of the circle, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Medical team on standby. Patricia spoke into her phone. If his heart rate becomes erratic, we intervene immediately. No. Elijah's voice was quiet but firm. If you interrupt, the vault locks permanently. I have to finish no matter what. Patricia hesitated, then nodded. Elijah removed his shoes. Richard had taught him that direct floor contact helped ground the harmonic resonance. Bare feet on marble would conduct the frequency better. He pulled the worn leather notebook from his pocket one last time, opened it to the page with his name, ran his fingers over Richard's handwriting. Then he set it beside him. He placed both palms flat against the vault's biometric panel. The steel was cool, smooth. It began to warm under his touch. The vault's display flickered. Biological scan in progress. 30 seconds passed. Secondary authorization recognized. Elijah Johnson. A murmur ran through the crowd. Phase 1 complete, Dr. Carter whispered. Now came the hard part. Elijah closed his eyes, began the breathing technique Richard had taught him. 4 counts in through the nose, hold for 7, 8 counts out through the mouth. His heartbeat, racing with nervousness, began to slow. Dr. Carter watched a medical monitor. His heart rate is dropping, 90 beats per minute, 85, 80. The breathing continued, steady, controlled. 75, 72. Richard's resting heart rate had been 72 beats per minute. He's matching it, the MIT physicist whispered. He's actually matching the target frequency. Elijah's consciousness shifted. He stopped thinking about the people watching, stopped thinking about the liability waiver, stopped thinking about Garrett's contempt. He thought about Saturday afternoons, Richard's study, smelling of old books and lemon polish, sunlight through tall windows, the old man's patient voice explaining quantum superposition. The universe doesn't exist in fixed states until we observe it, Elijah. Reality is fluid. Possibility is everything. The memory felt real. The vault's display changed. Harmonic frequency analysis in progress. Elijah felt the vault scanning him, not just his heartbeat, deeper, the electrical patterns of his nervous system, the rhythm of his thoughts. He had to bridge the gap between his living frequency and Richard's recorded one. He began the harmonic visualization Richard had taught him, imagining his heartbeat as a waveform, seeing it in his mind, the peaks and valleys of each pulse, then imagining Richard's waveform beside it. In his mind, he brought them closer. Let them overlap. Let them resonate. The vault began to hum, a sound so low it was more felt than heard. The marble floor vibrated beneath Elijah's bare feet. "What's happening?" Garrett's voice was tense. "The vault is responding," Dr. Carter said. "It's reading the bridge frequency. He's doing it." But Elijah barely heard them. He was somewhere else now. In his memory, Richard was showing him the vault for the first time. "Most security systems keep people out, Elijah. I designed this one to let the right person in. Not the richest person. Not the most powerful, the right person." "What are you protecting, Mr. Caldwell?" "Not what. Who. I'm protecting the people I love from those who would exploit them. I'm protecting knowledge from greed." The old man's hand on his shoulder. Heavy, warm, real. "Someday you'll protect something too. Something that matters more than money. And you'll understand why I built this vault the way I did." The vault's display flashed through colors: red, yellow, blue. "Emotional resonance scan active." Dr. Carter's voice was reverent. "It's reading his neural patterns. This is the final test." Elijah felt it. A sensation like being seen all the way through. The vault wasn't just reading his thoughts. It was reading his heart. Did he care about Richard Caldwell? Really care? Or was this about proving Garrett wrong? About saving his mother from debt? About feeling important? The vault would know. It would read the truth in his neural patterns. Elijah stopped trying to control anything. Stopped trying to prove anything. He just remembered. Remembered Richard's laugh when Elijah solved a difficult equation. Remembered the way the old man listened when Elijah talked about his dreams of college, of becoming a scientist, of mattering. Remembered the last time he'd seen Richard, 3 weeks before the old man died. Richard had been tired, moving slowly. "I won't be here forever, Elijah." "Don't say that." "It's true. But meeting you, teaching you, watching your mind work, it's been one of the great joys of my life. You reminded me why I fell in love with science. The wonder of it." The old man had hugged him. The only time Richard Caldwell had ever hugged him. "Thank you for letting an old man feel like a teacher again. Like a father again." Elijah's eyes burned behind his closed lids. Not from concentration, from grief. He missed Richard. Not his money, not his status. Him. The person who'd seen Elijah as more than the maid's son, who'd treated him like his mind mattered, like he mattered. The vault's hum reached a crescendo, then stopped. Complete silence. Elijah opened his eyes. The display glowed steady green. 3 words appeared. "Authorization complete. Welcome, Elijah." A sound like a sigh came from deep within the vault. Mechanical, but somehow organic. The locks disengaged, not with a harsh click, but with a musical tone. A perfect, a-natural note that resonated through the conference room. The vault door swung slowly open. Behind Elijah, someone gasped. Someone else started crying. Elijah's legs gave out. He sank to his knees, hands sliding down the vault's surface. He'd done it. The vault was open. For 5 seconds, nobody moved. Then Dr. Carter broke the silence. "He did it. My God, he actually did it." The room erupted. Experts rushed forward. Patricia Morrison was on her phone. "Stand down, the FBI team. The vault is open." Clara ran to her son, dropped to her knees beside him, pulling him into her arms. "Baby, you did it." Elijah couldn't speak. His body shook from the effort. His heart was still pounding. Dr. Carter approached the vault carefully, peered inside. His face went pale. Then he smiled. "It's all here. Every file, every key, every document, all intact." Garrett pushed through the crowd, looked inside. His shoulders sagged with relief. Then his eyes fell on something else. A sealed envelope. Cream-colored paper. His father's handwriting on the front. "To be read aloud upon opening of this vault." Garrett reached for it, but Dr. Carter was faster. "I'll read it," Carter said firmly. "That's what it says. Read aloud." He broke the seal, unfolded the letter, cleared his throat. To whom it may concern. If you're reading this, my quantum vault has been opened. Only 3 people had biological authorization to attempt access. My late wife, Clara Johnson, who served my household with dignity for 3 decades, and Elijah Johnson, the brightest mind I've encountered in 50 years. Garrett's face went ashen. Chen continued. If Elijah opened this vault, it means he demonstrated technical understanding and genuine emotional connection. The vault cannot be fooled. It reads truth at a neural level. Therefore, all assets contained within are to be distributed as follows. The room went silent. 40% to Elijah Johnson, held in trust until his 25th birthday. 30% to Clara Johnson, in gratitude for her loyalty. 20% to my son Garrett, conditional on 500 hours of community service. 10% to establish the Caldwell Johnson Scholarship Fund for gifted children from low-income families. Chen's voice cracked. Signed, Richard James Caldwell, witnessed and notarized. Garrett staggered backward. No, he can't. He can, Patricia said quietly. This document is legal, notarized, uncontestable. Dr. Carter pulled more papers from the vault. Detailed instructions, bank accounts, legal documentation. He looked at Elijah, still on his knees. Son, your life just changed. You're looking at approximately $2 billion. $2 billion. The number hung in the air like something impossible. Elijah stared at Dr. Carter. That's not... It's real, Carter said gently. Your mentor made very certain of it. Garrett's face had gone from red to white to gray. This is insane. My father was manipulated. That boy, that family. They took advantage of an elderly man. Your father wasn't senile, Patricia said sharply. I worked with him 4 months ago. His mind was sharp. Then he was coerced. There's no explanation for why he'd give billions to them. The explanation is in the letter, Dr. Carter said. Richard valued character over blood. He chose to reward the person who understood what he built. I'm his son. And you received 20%, conditional on changed character. Carter's voice was firm. Which you haven't demonstrated. Garrett's hands clenched. I'll fight this. I'll contest the will. I'll prove incompetence. You can try. Patricia pulled out her phone. But I've been recording this meeting. Company protocol. She played back audio. Garrett's voice, clear and damning. These people don't belong in rooms where real decisions are made. He's probably been snooping through my father's things for years. These people understand MOPS, not quantum encryption. Patricia stopped the playback. You've spent 2 hours disparaging this child, threatening his family, demonstrating exactly the character your father feared. Dr. Carter pulled another document from the vault. Richard left detailed documentation, dated entries going back 3 years. He read aloud. March 15th. Garrett fired 3 single mothers today for insufficient productivity. All had exemplary reviews. When confronted, he called them dead weight. I fear my son has lost sight of what makes a company valuable. Another entry. September 2nd. Caught Garrett berating Clara for a water glass placement. Called her incompetent in front of guests. I've never been more ashamed. Each entry was another nail. Evidence that Richard had watched his son with growing disappointment. The final entry was dated 2 weeks before Richard's death. I've made my decision. Garrett will inherit enough to live comfortably, but not enough to build an empire on cruelty. The bulk goes to those who understand money is a tool, not a measure of worth. To Clara, who raised a brilliant son on poverty wages. To Elijah, who has the mind to change the world. They deserve this. Garrett has squandered his chance. The room was silent. Garrett's voice was barely a whisper. He really hated me. He didn't hate you, Carter said quietly. He was disappointed. There's a difference. He gave billions to strangers. He gave billions to people who treated others with dignity. Carter closed the folder. You can contest this, but every entry will be evidence. Every witness here will testify. You'll lose, Garrett, publicly. Patricia nodded. Accept the 20%. Complete the community service. Learn what your father tried to teach. Garrett looked around the room. 50 faces staring back, some with pity, some with contempt, none with support. He looked at Elijah, still kneeling by the vault with his mother. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Shame, maybe. Recognition. Then it hardened back to resentment. Keep the money, he said. You'll waste it anyway. People like you always do. 5 years you'll be broke, begging for your old jobs back. He turned toward the door. Dr. Carter called after him. Garrett, your father left you a personal letter. Don't you want it? Garrett stopped. What does it say? I don't know. It's sealed. Addressed to you. Chen held out a small envelope. Garrett stared at it, then walked back and took it. He opened it right there, read silently. His face crumpled, just for a second. Then he folded the letter, put it in his pocket, and left without another word. Nobody asked what it said. Some things were meant to stay private. 1 year later. The Caldwell-Johnson Academy opened its doors to 500 students. Kids who tested gifted but couldn't afford programs. Elijah, 12 now, stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Mr. Caldwell taught me that talent lives everywhere, he said to the cameras. In mansions and in corners where kids wait for their parents to finish cleaning. This school exists because one person saw me when I was invisible. Behind him, a banner, where talent meets opportunity. Clara stood in the front row, tears of pride streaming. That night, Elijah found a final message in Richard's notebook. This money is a responsibility. Be someone else's chance. See the invisible. Make me proud. R.C. Elijah touched the words. I promise, he whispered. If this story moved you, comment about a time you were underestimated. Subscribe if you believe everyone deserves someone who sees their potential. Sharp-eyed viewers, rewatch 347. There's a detail most miss. Share this with someone who needs to hear it.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.